Shocking DNA links. Black pharaohs to our faith. Blessing now. What if I told you that the pharaohs who built the pyramids, those towering monuments to human achievement that have stood for 5,000 years, looked like you? What if the faces carved in stone, worshipped for millennia, celebrated as the pinnacle of human civilization, were black faces? What if everything you learned in school about ancient Egypt was a carefully constructed lie, designed to rob you of your heritage? Would that change everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your ancestors, about your place in history? Picture this. The year is 690 BC. The place is Memphis, Egypt, the ancient capital that has seen pharaohs rise and fall for 2,000 years. Taharqa, a king from Kush, what we now call Sudan, steps into the royal palace. He is 6 feet tall, powerfully built, his skin black as the African night from which he came. He wears a purple robe that flows behind him like a river. His crown is solid gold, catching the Egyptian sun and throwing light across the massive stone columns. The sound of drums echoes through the courtyard. Egyptian citizens, thousands of them, drop to their knees. Incense smoke rises from the temple of Amun-Ra, thick and sweet, filling the air with the scent of frankincense and myrrh. Taharqa raises his hand. His voice booms across the assembled crowd. I restore what was broken. I rebuild what was destroyed. I am Pharaoh. The air is thick with solemnity, with the weight of history being made. You can smell the gold, the incense, the hot sand of the desert mixing with the fertile soil of the Nile. Sunlight streams through massive stone pillars, each one carved with hieroglyphics, telling stories of gods and kings. This is power. This is divine authority. This is a black man claiming his rightful place as the ruler of the greatest civilization the world had ever known. But here is what they never told you. For 200 years, white archaeologists erased this truth. They took chisels to his face. They removed his name from monuments. They called Taharqa a foreign invader, not the restorer of Egyptian glory that he actually was. They hid DNA evidence. They rewrote textbooks. They made movies where white actors played Egyptian kings. They buried the black face of civilization under layers of lies. Until now. Until this moment. Until you discovered this truth. Today you are going to learn something that will shatter your understanding of history, of your identity, of your faith. You will discover the science they buried for centuries. You will meet the Black Pharaohs who saved Egypt when it was dying, who rebuilt temples, who fought empires, who were so powerful that the Bible itself records their deeds. You will understand why this truth was erased from every textbook you ever read, from every history class you ever took, from every museum you ever visited. After this video, you will understand why they lie about African history. You will see how centuries of whitening ancient civilizations was not accidental, not innocent, but deliberate. You will know why your children are never taught that Egypt, the birthplace of writing, mathematics, medicine, and architecture, was black. And you will recognize that your heritage is not poverty and slavery. Your heritage is pyramids and power. By the end of this video, you will know 3 things that will change your life. First, you will see DNA proof that Egypt's greatest pharaohs were Negroid confirmed by modern science, published in the most prestigious journals in the world. Second, you will discover how Constantin Volney, a French scholar traveling through Egypt in 1787, already knew the Sphinx had African features and was silenced by the academic establishment. Third, you will learn how Kushite kings like Taharqa, Shabaka, and Piye restored Egypt's temples and religion when they were crumbling into dust and were then called invaders by historians who could not accept that black men saved civilization. And you will never see the Bible or your faith the same way again. Because Taharqa is not just in history books. He is in your Bible. 2 Kings chapter 19 verse 9. Isaiah chapter 37 verse 9. The Bible calls him Taharqa, king of Ethiopia. He defended God's people against the Assyrian Empire. He is part of your spiritual heritage. Your African ancestry and your Christian faith are not separate. They are one, and they tried to split them. But today, God is reuniting them. Let me take you back. Back before the lies. Back before the textbooks were written by people who needed you to believe you came from nothing. Back to the 8th century before Christ. Egypt, the land of pyramids and pharaohs, is dying. For 2,000 years, it has been the center of the world. The Greeks call it the mother of civilization. The Hebrews know it as the land of Joseph and Moses. But now, in 750 BC, Egypt is broken. It is split into 5 different kingdoms, each ruled by petty kings, fighting each other for scraps of power. The temples of Amun-Ra are falling into ruin. The great pyramids built by the Old Kingdom stand as silent witnesses to a glory that is fading. Priests wander through empty corridors. Farmers struggle as warlords steal their crops. The Nile still floods every year, but the system that turned that flood into prosperity is collapsing. And then from the south, from the land, the Egyptians call Taharqa, the land of the bow, comes hope, the kingdom of Kush, modern-day Sudan, a nation of black warriors, builders, and believers. They are not foreigners to Egyptian culture. They are its children. For 1,000 years, Kush has been connected to Egypt. They worship the same gods. They write in hieroglyphics. They build pyramids. They see themselves as the true inheritors of Egyptian civilization. And when they look north and see Egypt dying, they make a decision. Not to conquer, not to destroy, but to save. The man who makes that decision is named Piye. His full name, written in hieroglyphics on monuments that still stand today, is Piye, son of Ra, king of Upper and Lower Egypt, lord of the 2 lands. He rules Kush from 744 to 714 BC. That is 30 years of power. 30 years of building, 30 years of preparing for what he knows he must do. Piye is born in Napata, the capital of Kush, a city on the Nile in what is now northern Sudan. His father is King Kashta, who first extended Kushite influence into southern Egypt. His mother is a Kushite queen, whose name has been lost to history, erased like so much of what we should know. But Piye himself, his story survives. In 728 BC, Piye receives reports that Egyptian warlords are fighting each other in the north. The Delta region is in chaos. Warlords with names like Tefnacht and Nimlot are battling for supremacy. Temples are being looted to pay for their armies. The sacred rituals that have been performed for 2,000 years are being abandoned. To Piye, this is unacceptable. Egypt is not just a land, it is holy. It is the land of Amun-Ra, the king of gods. Piye considers himself the true servant of Amun. He will not stand by while the sacred land is desecrated. Piye assembles his army. Kushite warriors, tall and powerful, skilled with bows and spears. War elephants, massive creatures that strike terror into enemies. Ships to sail down the Nile. And Piye leads them north. But here is what makes Piye different from every other conqueror in ancient history. He does not come to destroy. He comes to restore. He does not come to loot. He comes to rebuild. He does not come as a tyrant. He comes as a servant of God. City after city, Piye conquers. Thebes, the ancient religious capital, opens its gates to him. The priests recognize him as the true pharaoh. Hermopolis resists. Piye besieges it, but when it surrenders, he does not slaughter the population. He accepts their surrender with mercy. Memphis, the greatest city in Egypt, holds out against him. Piye could have burned it. He could have massacred everyone inside. Instead, he negotiates. He offers terms. When Memphis finally opens its gates, Piye does something extraordinary. He goes straight to the temple. He washes his hands in sacred water. He prays before the statue of Ptah, the creator god. He performs the ancient rituals. Only then does he accept the crown. This is not conquest. This is restoration. This is a black king from Africa saving Egyptian civilization from collapse. And we know every detail because Piye had it carved in stone. The victory stele of Piye stands 20 feet tall, covered in hieroglyphics, now in the Cairo Museum. It tells the whole story: his military campaigns, his mercy, his devotion to the gods, his restoration of temples. And at the end, Piye does something even more remarkable. He goes home. He returns to Napata to Kush, leaving governors to rule Egypt in his name. He does not need to stay in power. He did what he came to do. He saved Egypt. Piye dies in 714 BC and is buried under a pyramid in El Kuru, Sudan. Not in Egypt, in his homeland. Because he never forgot where he came from. He never forgot his people. He was a Kushite king who became an Egyptian pharaoh, and he wore both identities with pride. The man who built the 25th dynasty, the Black Pharaoh who saved Egypt from chaos. But Piye is just the beginning. The restoration he started is carried forward by his brother, a man named Shabaka. Shabaka rules from 714 to 705 BC, 9 years that transform Egypt. Where Piye was a warrior, Shabaka is a builder. Where Piye conquered from a distance, Shabaka moves right into the heart of power. He relocates the capital from Napata to Memphis. He sits on the throne in the palace, where pharaohs have ruled for 2,000 years. He wears the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. He takes the title Son of Ra, and he gets to work. Shabaka looks around Egypt and sees decay. Temples with roofs caving in. Statues with faces worn away by wind and time. Pylons cracked and crumbling. Religious texts fading. The priesthood demoralized and poor. This is the Egypt he inherits. So Shabaka restores. The Temple of Karnak in Thebes, the largest religious structure in the ancient world, receives his attention. He repairs the massive pylons, the gateway towers that stand over 100 feet tall. He restores the hypostyle hall, where 134 columns hold up a roof carved with stars. He ensures the daily rituals resume with full splendor. At the Temple of Luxor, Shabaka rebuilds sections damaged in the wars. He commissions new statues of himself, not in arrogance, but to show that a strong pharaoh once again protects the land. In Nubia, in his homeland, he builds the temple at Kawa, near the ancient temple that Tutankhamun built. He connects old glory to new power. Everywhere Shabaka goes, he builds or restores. He does not create monuments to himself. He restores monuments to the gods. But Shabaka's greatest achievement is not made of stone. It is made of words, the Shabaka stone. This is a slab of black granite nearly 5 feet across, covered in hieroglyphics. It now sits in the British Museum, stolen like so much African heritage. But what is written on it is profound. Shabaka discovers an ancient papyrus, crumbling with age, containing the Memphite theology, one of the oldest religious texts in human history. It tells how the god Ptah created the universe, not through physical labor, not through violence, but through speech. Ptah spoke, and the world came into being. He thought in his heart, spoke with his tongue, and creation happened. Does this sound familiar? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. But the Memphite theology is written 1,000 years before John. It is one of the oldest expressions of creation through divine speech in human history. And Shabaka, this black king from Kush, preserves it. He has it carved into stone, so it will never be lost. He understands that civilization is not just about armies and wealth. It is about knowledge, about wisdom, about preserving truth. Shabaka dies in 705 BC and is buried under a pyramid at El Kuru, next to his brother Piye. Two black kings from Africa buried in their homeland, who saved Egypt and restored its glory. But textbooks in America do not teach about Shabaka. Museums do not celebrate him. Movies do not portray him. Why? Because acknowledging Shabaka means acknowledging that a black African king preserved one of the most important religious texts in human history. It means acknowledging that African civilizations were not primitive. They were advanced. They understood theology, philosophy, the power of the written word. And that truth is dangerous to people who need you to believe you came from nothing. But the greatest of the Black Pharaohs is yet to come. Piye conquered, Shabaka restored. But the third king, the one who would face the greatest empire on earth and fight for the survival of his people, the one whose name would be recorded in the Bible itself, is Taharqa. Taharqa, son of Piye, nephew of Shabaka, becomes pharaoh in 690 BC. He is young, perhaps in his early 20s. He is tall, powerful, trained as a warrior from childhood, and he inherits an empire that stretches from the Mediterranean Sea to the heart of Africa. From the delta of Egypt to the cataracts of the Nile in Sudan, the largest kingdom in the world at that moment. And he will need every bit of that power because he is about to face Assyria. Assyria, modern-day Iraq, is the superpower of the ancient world in 700 BC. They have conquered Babylon, Syria, Israel. They have developed the most fearsome military machine ever seen. Iron weapons, siege engines, cavalry, ruthless tactics. When Assyria conquers a city, they do not just defeat it, they destroy it. They impale resistors on stakes. They deport entire populations. They leave pyramids of severed heads as warnings. This is the empire that sets its eyes on Egypt, and Taharqa stands in their way. The conflict begins before Taharqa is even pharaoh. In 701 BC, when Taharqa is still a young prince, the Assyrian king Sennacherib invades the Levant. He attacks Jerusalem, the capital of Judah, ruled by King Hezekiah. Hezekiah is desperate. The Assyrian army surrounds his city. He sends messengers to Egypt begging for help. And Egypt responds. The army that marches to face Assyria is led by a young Kushite prince named Taharqa. The Bible records this moment. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 9. And when he heard say of Taharqa, king of Ethiopia, behold, he is come out to fight against thee. Taharqa is the Hebrew pronunciation of Taharqa. The Bible calls him king of Ethiopia, but he is from Kush, from Sudan, from Africa. And he comes to fight the greatest empire on earth. What happens next is disputed by historians, but the Bible is clear. That night, the angel of the Lord goes out and strikes down 185,000 Assyrians in their camp. When the people get up the next morning, there are all the dead bodies. Sennacherib, king of Assyria, breaks camp and withdraws. He returns to Nineveh and stays there. Whether you interpret this as divine intervention, as plague, as a military disaster, the result is the same. Assyria retreats, Jerusalem is saved, and Taharqa, the young black prince from Kush, is part of that salvation. He is in your Bible. He is part of the story of God protecting his people. Your African heritage and your faith are not separate. When Taharqa becomes pharaoh in 690 BC, he rules for 26 years, longer than most Egyptian pharaohs, longer than Ramesses the Great's effective rule, longer than Tutankhamun Hatshepsut or Akhenaten. For a quarter century, this black man from Sudan is the most powerful person on earth, and he uses that power to build. Taharqa constructs monuments all across Egypt and Kush. At Karnak, he builds a massive colonnade. The columns are 70 feet high, the tallest in Egypt. They still stand today, towering over visitors, proclaiming the power and glory of a Black Pharaoh. At the Temple of Mut in Karnak, he adds structures. At Kawa in Nubia, he expands his family's temple. But Taharqa's greatest monuments are his pyramids. Not in Egypt, in Sudan. At Nuri, across the Nile from Napata, Taharqa builds a pyramid that stands over 160 feet tall. It is surrounded by the pyramids of his successors, his family creating a field of pyramids in Sudan that rivals anything in Egypt. Today, there are more pyramids in Sudan than in Egypt. Over 200 Nubian pyramids, compared to about 130 in Egypt. But when is the last time you saw a documentary about the pyramids of Sudan? When is the last time a history class taught you that the Black Kings of Kush built pyramids for 1,000 years after Egypt stopped? The erasure is deliberate. Taharqa's reign is not peaceful. Assyria is not done. In 600 BC, Esarhaddon, the son of Sennacherib, invades Egypt. This time, Assyria is prepared. They bring their full force. The battle is brutal. Esarhaddon's inscriptions boast that he conquers Memphis, that he defeats Taharqa, that he drives him south. And it is true. Taharqa is forced to retreat to Thebes, to Upper Egypt. Memphis falls to Assyria. But Taharqa does not surrender. He regroups, he rebuilds his army. And when Esarhaddon dies in 669 BC, Taharqa strikes back. He retakes Memphis. He drives out the Assyrian garrisons. He kills the Egyptian princes who collaborated with Assyria. For a brief moment, Egypt is free again, but Assyria returns. Ashurbanipal, the new Assyrian king, invades in 664 BC. This time, the Assyrian forces are overwhelming. They sack Thebes, the ancient capital, looting its temples and treasures. Taharqa is forced to retreat all the way to Nubia, to his homeland. He never retakes Egypt. But he never surrenders. He fights to the last. And when he dies in 664 BC, he is buried with honors in his pyramid at Nuri. A warrior to the end. Here is what they do not tell you in school. Taharqa fought the Assyrian Empire, the greatest military power in the world, for over 3 decades. He won battles. He lost battles. But he never gave up. He defended his people. He protected the temples of Egypt. He preserved Egyptian and Kushite culture. And he is the only Black Pharaoh mentioned in the Bible. He is part of the story of God's protection of Jerusalem. He is part of your heritage if you are a Black Christian. They tried to separate your African identity from your faith. But they are woven together by men like Taharqa. After Taharqa, his nephew Tantamani tries to hold on to Egypt, but the Assyrians drive him out permanently by 656 BC. The 25th dynasty, the dynasty of the Black Pharaohs, ends after about a century of rule. And then something terrible happens. The Egyptians who take power after them, the 26th dynasty, begin to erase them. They chisel their names off monuments. They destroy their statues. They rewrite the history. The Black Pharaohs who saved Egypt are recast as foreign invaders, as enemies, as a shameful period. Why? Because they were black. Because acknowledging that black men from Africa saved Egypt, restored its temples, fought its enemies, threatens the racial hierarchy that Egypt's later rulers and eventually European colonizers want to maintain. And this brings us to a man who saw the truth before anyone was willing to hear it. A French scholar who traveled to Egypt in 1783, over 240 years ago, and wrote words so dangerous that they have been buried, ignored, and dismissed by the academic establishment ever since. His name was Constantin François de Chasseboeuf Comte de Volney, but everyone called him simply Volney. And in 1787, he published a book that should have changed the world. Volney was born in 1757 in France. He was a philosopher, a historian, a man of the Enlightenment who believed in reason and observation. In 1783, at age 26, he left France and traveled through Syria and Egypt. This was before Napoleon's invasion, before the Rosetta Stone was discovered, before European archaeologists swarmed over Egyptian ruins. Volney walked through Egypt when it was still under Ottoman rule, still mysterious to Europeans, still full of secrets. He studied the ancient monuments, he measured the pyramids, he examined the temples, and he stood before the Great Sphinx of Giza. The Sphinx is a massive statue, a lion's body with a human head carved from limestone, stretching 240 feet long and 66 feet high. It has guarded the pyramids for over 4,000 years. Its face has been worn by wind and sand, damaged by time, shot at by Napoleon's soldiers, who used it for target practice. But in 1783, enough of the face remained for Volney to see clearly what it represented. And he wrote these words in his book, Travels Through Syria and Egypt, published in 1787. The Sphinx's features and head are characterized as being Negro. He did not hedge, he did not soften it. He stated it as observable fact. But he did not stop there. He continued with words that are even more explosive. Just think that this race of black men today, our slave and the object of our contempt, is the very race to which we owe our art sciences and even the use of speech. Imagine, finally, that it is in the midst of peoples who call themselves the greatest friends of liberty and humanity that one has approved the most barbaric slavery. Let me make sure you understand what Volney just did. In 1787, at the height of the transatlantic slave trade, when European ships are carrying millions of Africans in chains across the ocean, when slavery is the economic foundation of the Americas, Volney looks at the Sphinx and declares that the people who built Egyptian civilization, who gave the world writing and mathematics and medicine, were black. And he says that Europeans who claim to love liberty and humanity are enslaving the descendants of the people who civilized them. This is revolutionary. This is dangerous. This threatens the entire justification for slavery, because here is what slavery required to function. It required Europeans and Americans to believe that Africans were inferior, that they had no history, no civilization, no contribution to human progress. It required the belief that slavery was, if not good, then at least natural, that black people were suited for labor and nothing more. But if Africans built Egypt, if they created the civilization that Greece and Rome learned from, if they invented writing, mathematics, architecture, medicine, then slavery is not natural. It is a crime. It is the enslavement of people who built the foundation of human knowledge. So what happened to Volney's book? It was published. Some people read it. But it was not widely taught. It was not put in textbooks. It did not change the academic consensus. Because the academic consensus was built by people who had an interest in maintaining slavery, and later in maintaining colonialism and segregation. Volney's observations were inconvenient, so they were ignored, dismissed, called speculation. And the lie continued. But Volney was not wrong. He was just 200 years ahead of the science that would prove him right. Because in 2017, something extraordinary happened. A team of scientists in Germany published a study in Nature Communications, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world. They extracted DNA from 90 ancient Egyptian mummies, spanning 1,300 years of history. From the New Kingdom, when Ramesses ruled through the Roman period. They analyzed mitochondrial genomes, the DNA passed down through the maternal line, and they sequenced nuclear genomes when possible. And they made a discovery that shook Egyptology. Ancient Egyptians were North African. Their DNA showed connections to the Near East, to the Levant, to the people of ancient Mesopotamia. But here is the key finding. Modern Egyptians have 15 to 20% more sub-Saharan African DNA than ancient Egyptians. Think about what that means. It means that over the centuries, more Black Africans came into Egypt, not fewer. The mixing increased. The connection to sub-Saharan Africa grew stronger. Ancient Egyptians were not white Mediterranean people as colonial archaeologists claimed. They were Afro-Asiatic, a mix of North African and Near Eastern ancestry. And the Kushite pharaohs of the 25th dynasty coming from Sudan were even more African. They were the same people, the same culture, the same civilization. Not foreigners, not invaders. Family. And then in 2025, just this year, another study dropped. Published in July 2025 by an international team of researchers. They analyzed DNA from a tooth from an individual buried at Nuweirat, 165 miles south of Cairo. This individual lived during the early dynastic period, or Old Kingdom. That is the time when the pyramids were built, when the Sphinx was carved, when Egyptian civilization was at its height. And the DNA results 80% North African ancestry, 20% ancient Mesopotamian ancestry. The people who built the pyramids, who created hieroglyphics, who developed mathematics and medicine, were African. They were brown-skinned, dark-haired, connected to the people of Sudan and Ethiopia, more than to the people of Greece or Rome. The science is clear. Volney was right in 1787. The Sphinx has African features because it was carved by Africans to represent an African king. The pyramids were built by Africans, not by aliens, not by lost white civilizations, not by anyone else. By black and brown people from the continent of Africa. And every textbook that taught you otherwise, every museum that described Egyptians as Mediterranean, every movie that cast white actors as pharaohs, lied to you. But this is not just about Egypt. This pattern of erasure, of whitewashing, of stealing African achievement and giving it to Europeans or Arabs, or anyone except the people who actually did it, this pattern repeats across history. Let me show you. Ancient Greece, the civilization that Europeans call the birthplace of Western philosophy, democracy, art. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Homer and his epics, the Parthenon in Athens. But here is what they don't teach you. Ancient Greek writers described Socrates as having a flat nose and thick lips, characteristics that in racist anthropology are called negroid. Aesop, who wrote the famous fables, was described by ancient sources as Ethiopian, as black, possibly a former slave. The Greeks themselves acknowledge that they learned from Egypt. Herodotus, the father of history, traveled to Egypt and wrote that the Egyptians were dark-skinned. Aristotle studied in Egypt. Plato may have studied there. Pythagoras definitely studied there for over 20 years, learning mathematics and philosophy from Egyptian priests. But European Renaissance art painted the Greeks as white pale, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Statues that were originally painted in bright colors, showing realistic skin tones, were left white after the paint faded, and Europeans decided that white marble was the ideal. They created an image of Greece as a pure white civilization that sprang fully formed from nothing with no debt to Africa. It is a lie. Greek philosophy is built on Egyptian foundations. Egyptian medicine, mathematics, and theology were already ancient when Greece was young. But acknowledging that would mean acknowledging Africa's primacy. So it was erased. Or take the Moors. From 711 to 1492, AD, North African Muslims, many of them black, ruled Spain. They brought advanced mathematics, astronomy, medicine, architecture, agriculture. They built universities in Cordoba and Granada. They preserved Greek and Roman texts that Europe had lost during the Dark Ages and translated them, adding their own discoveries. The number system you use, the so-called Arabic numerals, came to Europe through the Moors. algebra, algorithm, alchemy, alcohol, all Arabic words brought by the Moors. But after the Reconquista in 1492, when Christian kingdoms retook Spain, they systematically erased Moorish contributions. They destroyed books. They converted or expelled Muslims. They rewrote history to make it seem like Spain was always Christian, always European, with a brief unfortunate occupation by foreigners. The Moors, especially the Black Moors from North and West Africa, were written out. Or look at Great Zimbabwe. In modern day Zimbabwe, there are stone ruins of a massive city. Walls 30 feet high built without mortar, enclosing a complex of towers and passages. It was the capital of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, which flourished from 1100 to 1450 AD. It was a trading empire, rich from gold and ivory, connected to Swahili city-states on the coast, to Arabia, to India, to China. The stonework is sophisticated, beautiful, a testament to African engineering. But when Europeans arrived in the late 1800s, they refused to believe Africans built it. They claimed it must be Phoenicians, or Arabs, or the Queen of Sheba, or a lost white tribe. Anything except the obvious truth that the Bantu people of Zimbabwe built it themselves. It was not until the 1900s that archaeologists definitively proved that Great Zimbabwe was built by Africans, that it was an indigenous achievement. But even then, the Rhodesian government, the white minority government that ruled Zimbabwe until 1980, suppressed that research. They did not want to admit that Black Africans were capable of such achievement because it would undermine their justification for apartheid rule. The erasure was not accidental. It was policy. And here is the most personal one for you, if you are a Christian. The whitewashing of Jesus, of Moses, of the apostles, of everyone in the Bible. The Middle East is not Europe. The people of ancient Israel, of Egypt, of Mesopotamia, were not white. They were brown-skinned, dark-haired, Afro-Asiatic people. Jesus was a Jew from Nazareth in Galilee. He would have looked like a modern-day Palestinian, or Yemeni, or Egyptian. Brown skin, dark, curly hair, a broad nose. But starting in the Renaissance, European artists painted him as a white man with long, flowing brown hair, light-skinned sometimes, even blue eyes. They painted Mary as a European woman. They painted the apostles as Europeans. And those images spread across the world, into every church, onto every wall, into every mind. Why does this matter? Because when enslaved Africans in America were forced to convert to Christianity, they were shown images of a white Jesus. They were told that God looked like their masters. They were told that the heroes of the faith, the people God chose, were white. And the implicit message was clear. You are not chosen. You are cursed. You are the descendants of Ham, cursed to serve. That is what they were taught. It was a theological justification for slavery, and it required erasing the fact that the Bible is full of Black people, that Jesus fled to Africa as a baby for refuge, that Moses was raised by Egyptians, that Taharqa is in the Bible defending God's people. They made God white so you would hate yourself. But let me cliffhanger you right here, because what comes next is even more infuriating. You have seen the pattern. You understand that this erasure happened to Egypt, to Greece, to the Moors, to Great Zimbabwe, to the Bible itself. But now I need to show you how they did it. The specific mechanisms of suppression, the laws, the institutions, the strategies they used to bury this truth so deep that generations grew up never knowing. And when you see the system, when you understand how deliberate it was, your anger will turn into something more powerful. Clarity, because you cannot fight what you do not understand. But once you see it, you can dismantle it. They did not just ignore the truth, they actively destroyed it. Physically, legally, educationally. systematically. Let me show you how. After the 25th dynasty ends, after the Black Pharaohs are driven out by Assyria and replaced by the 26th dynasty, the new rulers begin erasing them from history. They take chisels to monuments and scrape off the names of Taharqa, Shabaka, Piye. At the Temple of Karnak, you can see the scars where their cartouches, the oval shapes containing their names and hieroglyphics, were gouged out of the stone. You can see statues with the faces smashed off. Why? Because in Egyptian belief, to erase someone's name was to erase their existence in the afterlife. It was not just political, it was spiritual murder. When Napoleon invaded Egypt in 1798, he brought soldiers and scientists. The scientists studied the monuments, measured the pyramids, copied hieroglyphics. But the soldiers, bored and brutal, used the Sphinx for target practice. They shot cannonballs at its face. They damaged the nose, the lips, the features that Volney had described as negroid just 15 years earlier. Was it deliberate? We cannot know for certain, but the result was the same. The African features were further obscured. In the 1800s, European archaeologists swarmed into Egypt. Men like Flinders, Petrie Howard Carter, George Reisner. They excavated tombs, temple cities. They made incredible discoveries. But they also brought their racial prejudices with them. George Reisner, who excavated the pyramids of the Kushite kings at Nuri and El Kuru, described Nubians as a half-savage race. He could not reconcile the sophisticated pyramids and temples with his belief that black people were inferior. So he created tortured explanations. He claimed that the Kushites merely copied Egyptian styles without understanding them, that they were imitators, not innovators. Another archaeologist, Clarence Fisher, wrote in his diary that he was frustrated working with a native black man on his team, complaining about having to supervise him. These were the men who controlled access to Egyptian history, who decided what got published, what got displayed in museums, what narrative got taught. And their narrative was clear. Egypt was a Mediterranean civilization. It was connected to Greece and Rome, to Europe. Any African influence was primitive, derivative, an unfortunate interruption. The Black Pharaohs of the 25th dynasty were invaders, not restorers. Nubia was a backwater, not a sophisticated kingdom. And black people, modern descendants of these civilizations, had contributed nothing to human progress. The physical destruction was bad enough, but the legal and institutional suppression was worse because it was systematic. In the United States from 1740 to 1865, most southern states had laws making it illegal to teach enslaved people to read or write. South Carolina passed such a law in 1740 after the Stono Rebellion. Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana all had similar laws. The penalty for teaching a slave to read could be a fine, imprisonment, or whipping. Why? Because literacy was power. If enslaved people could read, they could read about abolition, about Haiti's revolution, about their own history. They could read the Bible for themselves and see that it did not justify slavery. They could organize, communicate, resist. So literacy was criminalized. After emancipation in 1865, the laws changed, but the suppression continued. During Reconstruction, black schools were built, and black literacy rates climbed rapidly. But after Reconstruction ended in 1877, Jim Crow laws strangled those schools. Funding was slashed. Black schools received a fraction of what white schools got. In 1915, South Carolina spent $12.37 per white child on education and $1.13 per black child. That is over a 10-to-1 ratio. The schools were segregated and unequal. The textbooks, when black schools had any, taught a version of history where slavery was benign, where enslaved people were happy, where the Confederacy was noble, and where Africa had no history at all. The textbooks used in white schools were not much better when it came to Africa. Egypt was taught as part of ancient history, but it was described as Mediterranean, as connected to Greece, definitely not as African. The word African was reserved for sub-Saharan Africa, and that was described as primitive, as having no written language, no cities, no history. Students learned a timeline of civilization that went Egypt to Greece to Rome to Europe, with Africa entirely absent. The 25th dynasty, the Black Pharaohs, were not mentioned. Taharqa was not mentioned, even though he is in the Bible. The message was clear. Civilization was a European achievement. Africans contributed nothing. This continued for over a century. It was not until the civil rights movement in the 1960s that Black scholars began demanding African history be taught. Cheikh Anta Diop, a Senegalese scholar, published his dissertation in 1960, arguing that ancient Egyptians were Black Africans. He used cranial measurements, melanin tests, analysis of Egyptian art, and statues showing Negroid features. He presented his findings at a UNESCO conference in 1974, dedicated to the peopling of ancient Egypt. Other scholars presented evidence that Egyptians were Mediterranean, or Middle Eastern, or mixed. The conference ended without a clear consensus. The UNESCO report said the evidence was inconclusive, but here is the thing. The evidence was not inconclusive. Diop's evidence was strong. Egyptian art clearly shows Nubians and Egyptians as related peoples with similar features. The Fayum mummy portraits from Roman Egypt show people with brown skin and African features. The DNA evidence we have now proves that ancient Egyptians were Afro-Asiatic, connected to North and East Africa. But acknowledging Diop meant overturning 150 years of Egyptology built on white supremacist assumptions. It meant admitting that European scholars had been wrong, or worse, had been lying. The academic establishment was not ready to do that. So Diop was marginalized, called an Afrocentric radical, dismissed as unscholastic. His work was kept out of mainstream curricula. Even today in 2025, most American schools teach almost nothing about the Black Pharaohs. I checked the most widely used high school world history textbooks. Egypt gets 2 to 3 pages. The pyramids, King Tut, maybe Cleopatra. The 25th dynasty gets 0 pages. Taharqa, despite being in the Bible, is not mentioned. The Kushite kingdom, which lasted over 1,000 years and built over 200 pyramids, gets maybe 1 sentence if you are lucky. Students graduate high school thinking that Egypt is separate from Africa, that Africans south of the Sahara had no ancient civilizations, that Black people entered history as slaves. It is educational malpractice. It is cultural genocide. The suppression extends to higher education. For most of the 20th century, Egyptology departments in American and European universities were dominated by white scholars. Black scholars were not hired. Black perspectives were not welcomed. Courses on Western civilization started with Greece skipping over Egypt's influence or treating it as a sidebar. African American studies programs, when they were finally created in the 1960s and 70s, were separate from ancient history departments. The message was clear. Africa and the ancient world were separate topics. They did not overlap. This separation is artificial, and it is racist. It maintains the lie that civilization is European and Africa is primitive. Museums are just as guilty. The British Museum, the Louvre, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They all have extensive Egyptian collections. Mummies, statues, jewelry, papyri. But how do they describe the people Mediterranean? Middle Eastern? Cosmopolitan? Never African. Even when displaying statues of Taharqa with his clearly Kushite features, the plaques describe him carefully. Nubian pharaoh, Kushite ruler, foreign dynasty. The language creates distance otherness. It suggests that these Black kings were interlopers, not legitimate rulers. And the museums themselves are full of stolen artifacts. The Rosetta Stone was taken by the British. The bust of Nefertiti was taken by Germans. Obelisks stand in Paris, London, New York. Egypt's heritage was looted by colonial powers and has never been returned. And now those same museums control the narrative about what that heritage means. Hollywood has been perhaps the most damaging of all. Movies reach millions. They shape how people visualize history. And Hollywood has consistently whitewashed Egypt. The 10 Commandments in 1956. Charlton Heston, a white man, plays Moses. Yul Brynner, also white, plays Rameses. Cleopatra in 1963. Elizabeth Taylor White. The Mummy in 1999. The cast is mostly white. Exodus Gods and Kings in 2014. Christian Bale plays Moses. Joel Edgerton plays Rameses. Both white. When the director Ridley Scott was asked why he did not cast Middle Eastern or African actors, he said he needed stars to get financing. As if there are no talented actors of color. As if historical accuracy is less important than box office. Gods of Egypt in 2016 was the most egregious. A movie about Egyptian gods. Set in a fantasy version of ancient Egypt. The entire main cast white. When the backlash came, the director Alex Proyas, who is himself Egyptian-Australian, apologized. He said he should have done better. But the damage was done. Another generation of viewers saw Egypt and saw white people. The message sinks in subconsciously. Ancient civilizations were white. Black people were slaves, or servants, or absent. It is not true. But repetition makes it feel true. And then there is the news media. When the 2017 DNA study came out, the one showing that ancient Egyptians had North African and Near Eastern ancestry headlines, in major outlets said ancient Egyptians were more closely related to Europeans than modern Egyptians. That is a spin. The study did not say Egyptians were European. It said they had less sub-Saharan African DNA than modern Egyptians, meaning more black Africans came to Egypt over time, not fewer. But the headlines reinforced the idea that ancient Egypt was white, or at least not black. The media took a study that actually supported an Afrocentric view of Egypt and twisted it to support the old colonial narrative. Why does all this matter? Why does it matter that they destroyed statues that they wrote, biased textbooks, that they made movies with white actors? Because ideas have consequences. When you are taught that your ancestors were slaves and nothing more, that they had no history, no achievements, no civilization, it affects how you see yourself. It affects your self-esteem, your aspirations, your sense of possibility. If you think you come from nothing, you expect nothing. But if you know you come from kings, from builders, from warriors, who fought empires and created wonders, it changes everything. It gives you pride. It gives you a standard. It gives you a legacy to live up to. And the theft was not just psychological. It was economic. Which brings us to right now, to 2025, to your life, to the struggles you face every single day. Because the erasure of black history is directly connected to the theft of black wealth. Let me show you how. The median wealth of a white household in America in 2025 is $188,000. The median wealth of a black household is $24,000. That is not income. That is total wealth. Everything you own, minus everything you owe. Your house, your car, your savings, your retirement account, all of it added together. White families have nearly 8 times more wealth than black families. 8 to 1. And this gap is not shrinking. In many measures, it is growing. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think that gap exists because black people do not work hard? Do you think it exists because black people are not smart enough, not disciplined enough, not motivated enough? That is what they want you to believe. That poverty is a personal failure. But let me show you the real reason. The wealth gap exists because your wealth was stolen. Systematically, legally, violently. And it was stolen not in some distant past, but within living memory, within your lifetime, within your parents' lifetime, within your grandparents' lifetime. Let me take you to Tulsa, Oklahoma. June 1921. The Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, is one of the most prosperous black communities in America. It has over 600 black-owned businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, a hospital, a bank, a post office, libraries, schools, law offices, a bus system. Black people in Greenwood own their homes. They run their own economy. There are more black millionaires per capita in Greenwood than in Beverly Hills. Doctors, lawyers, businessmen, entrepreneurs. They built this from nothing, just 56 years after slavery ended, in a state that was viciously racist, that had laws designed to keep black people poor. On May 31st, 1921, a young black man named Dick Rowland is accused of assaulting a white woman in an elevator. The accusation is almost certainly false. She probably tripped. He tried to catch her. She screamed. But in 1921, Oklahoma, a black man touching a white woman is a death sentence. A white mob gathers at the courthouse, demanding Rowland be handed over to be lynched. Black men, many of them veterans of World War I, who just fought for America and Europe, arm themselves and go to the courthouse to protect Rowland. Shots are fired. No one knows who shoots first. The black men retreat to Greenwood. What happens next is not a riot. It is a massacre. It is domestic terrorism. White mobs, thousands of them, some deputized by the police, some given weapons by the National Guard, invade Greenwood on June 1st. They loot every business. They burn every building. They shoot black people in the streets. Eyewitnesses report planes flying overhead dropping firebombs and firing rifles at fleeing residents. Planes. This is the first aerial bombing of an American city. Over 35 blocks are destroyed. Over 1,200 homes are burned. The official death toll is 36, but historians now believe it was closer to 300. Bodies were thrown into mass graves into the river burned in buildings. And here is the key detail that connects to everything we have been talking about. After the massacre, the city government changed the fire codes. They required that all new buildings in Greenwood be built with expensive, fire-resistant materials. Materials that black residents who had just lost everything could not afford. Insurance companies refused to pay claims. They said the destruction was a riot, and riot damage was not covered. Banks would not give loans. The city rezoned the area for industrial use, making it illegal to rebuild homes and businesses. Within a year, wealthy white developers bought up the land for pennies. Do you see what happened? Black people in Tulsa built wealth. They built businesses. They bought property. They created generational assets. And white mobs, with the support of the government, destroyed it all. Then the government made it illegal to rebuild. Then developers stole the land. The wealth was transferred from black hands to white hands, and it was legal. This is not ancient history. There are people alive today whose grandparents lived through this. If those businesses had not been burned, if that land had not been stolen, those families would be wealthy today. That property in Greenwood is now worth millions. But the descendants of the families who built it own none of it. And Tulsa was not unique. Rosewood, Florida. January 1923. A white woman claims a black man assaulted her. A white mob attacks the black community of Rosewood. They burn every building. They murder black residents. Survivors flee into the swamps. The entire town is destroyed. It is never rebuilt. The land is taken. Wilmington, North Carolina, November 1898. White supremacists overthrow the elected biracial government. They burn black businesses and newspapers. They murder black residents. They drive thousands of black people out of the city. Property is seized. Elaine, Arkansas, October 1919. Black sharecroppers try to organize a union to demand fair payment. White mobs attack. Over 200 black people are killed. Farms are taken. This happened in Atlanta in 1906, in East St. Louis in 1917, in Chicago in 1919, in Ocoee, Florida in 1920, where the entire black community was destroyed because black people tried to vote. Over and over and over, the pattern repeats. Black people build wealth. White mobs, often with police and government support, destroy it. The land and property are taken. And it is legal. Or if it is not legal, no one is punished. The wealth is transferred. And then, decades later, people ask why black families do not have generational wealth. This is why. It was stolen. But it is not just massacres. The theft continued through law. Redlining. From the 1930s to 1968, the federal government, through the Homeowners Loan Corporation and the Federal Housing Administration, created maps of every city in America. They color-coded neighborhoods. Green meant good investment safe for loans. Red meant bad investment too risky. And guess which neighborhoods were marked red? Black neighborhoods. Even black neighborhoods that were stable and middle class were marked red simply because black people lived there. Banks used these maps to deny mortgages to black families. If you were black and tried to buy a house, even if you had good credit, even if you had a down payment, the bank would say no. Or they would charge you higher interest rates. Meanwhile, white families got low interest, government-backed mortgages. They bought homes in the suburbs. Those homes appreciated in value. That became wealth they passed to their children. But black families were locked out. They had to rent. Rent does not build wealth. Homeownership does. By the time redlining was made illegal in 1968, the damage was done. An entire generation of black families was denied the chance to build wealth through homeownership. And even after 1968, discrimination continued. It just became more subtle, steering where real estate agents showed black buyers only certain neighborhoods. Predatory lending, where black borrowers were given subprime mortgages even when they qualified for prime rates. The 2008 financial crisis hit black families harder than any other group because they had been targeted for those predatory loans. Wells Fargo Bank of America, they paid billions in settlements for discriminating against black borrowers. But the money did not go to the families who lost their homes. The wealth was gone. Today, the black homeownership rate is 45%. The white homeownership rate is 74%. In Tulsa specifically, the homeownership gap is even worse. In 1920, before the massacre, black homeownership in Tulsa was about the same as white homeownership. Today, it is half. That is not because black people stopped wanting to own homes. It is because of what was done to them. Let me make this personal. If your great-grandparents had owned a home in Greenwood in 1921, and that home had not been burned, and your family had been able to keep it and pass it down, do you know what it would be worth today? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more. That is wealth your family should have. That is wealth that was stolen, not by some abstract force, not by bad luck, by deliberate policy and mob violence. And no one has ever paid it back, which brings us to reparations. That word makes some people uncomfortable. They say slavery was a long time ago. They say no one alive today owned slaves. They say we should move on. But reparations are not just about slavery. They are about the ongoing theft. Tulsa was 1921. That is 104 years ago. Your grandparents or great-grandparents could have lived through that. Redlining ended in 1968. That is 57 years ago. Your parents lived through that. Predatory lending in the 2000s. You lived through that. The theft is not ancient history. It is happening now. And there is a biblical precedent for reparations. Exodus chapter 12, verses 35 and 36. The Israelites are leaving Egypt after 400 years of slavery. God tells them to ask the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and clothing. And the Bible says, the Lord made the Egyptians favorably disposed toward the people, and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. This is reparations. God commanded the Israelites to take wealth from Egypt as compensation for centuries of unpaid labor, and God made it happen. If God demanded reparations for His people in Egypt, why should America refuse reparations for 250 years of slavery, plus another 150 years of Jim Crow massacres, redlining mass incarceration, and ongoing discrimination? The moral case is clear. The historical case is documented. The economic calculation has been done. Economists estimate that the value of unpaid slave labor, adjusted for inflation and interest, is over $10 trillion. Add in the stolen property from massacres, the denial of homeownership, through redlining the wage gap, the discrimination, and you are looking at over $100 trillion in stolen wealth. Some people say we cannot afford it, but we can afford endless wars. We can afford tax cuts for billionaires. We can afford bank bailouts. The question is not, can we afford it? The question is, do we have the courage to do what is right? Reparations are not a handout. They are a debt. They are what is owed. But let me connect this to something happening right now. Project 2025. You have heard about it. It is a 900-page policy blueprint created by conservative think tanks for the next Republican administration. And if you are a Black American, you need to understand what it means for you. Because Project 2025 is not just about cutting government programs. It is about systematically dismantling every protection and support that Black communities have fought for over the last 70 years. Project 2025 calls for eliminating the Department of Education. Why does that matter? Because the Department of Education enforces civil rights laws in schools. It ensures that schools do not discriminate based on race. It funds programs like Head Start, which serves low-income children, 28% of whom are Black. Without the Department of Education, states can go back to funding white schools and starving Black schools. We have seen this before. It was called Jim Crow. Project 2025 calls for cutting Pell Grants, the federal aid that helps low-income students afford college. Over 60% of Black college students receive Pell Grants. Cutting that aid means cutting off the path to higher education for hundreds of thousands of Black students. It means widening the wealth gap, because education is one of the few ways to break the cycle of poverty. Project 2025 calls for eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in government and federal contractors. That means no more efforts to hire Black employees, to promote Black workers, to ensure that government reflects the diversity of the country. It means going back to all-white workplaces, all-white leadership, all-white decision-making. Project 2025 calls for weakening voting rights protections. It supports strict voter ID laws, purging voter rolls, reducing early voting. All policies that disproportionately affect Black voters. We know this because we have seen it. Every time voting becomes harder, Black turnout drops. That is the point. They do not want you to vote because when you vote, you have power. Project 2025 calls for increased incarceration, harsher sentencing, more prisons. That means more Black men and women locked up. It means more families torn apart. It means more people with criminal records who cannot get jobs, who cannot vote, who are locked out of society. Mass incarceration is the new Jim Crow. Project 2025 wants to expand it. Do you see the pattern? Project 2025 isn't random. It is a systematic effort to roll back civil rights, to widen the wealth gap, to reduce Black political power, to make it harder for black families to build wealth and pass it to the next generation. It is the same strategy they have been using for 400 years. Steal wealth, deny opportunity, lock people out, and then blame them for being poor. And they are doing it right now in 2025 while you are watching. Gentrification is modern land theft. You know what I'm talking about. Black neighborhoods that were redlined, that were starved of investment for decades, suddenly become hip. White developers move in, coffee shops open, rents skyrocket, property taxes go up. Longtime residents, the black families who stayed when no one else wanted to live there, can no longer afford to stay. They are pushed out. And the land, the property that they should own, that they would own if they had been given mortgages 50 years ago, is taken by investors. It is Tulsa all over again. The method is different. No one is burning buildings. But the result is the same. Black people lose the land. Mass incarceration is modern slavery. The 13th Amendment, the one that supposedly abolished slavery, has an exception. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. Except as punishment for crime, slavery is legal in prisons. And who goes to prison? 1 in 3. Black men will be incarcerated in their lifetime. They are put to work, forced labor, making products, fighting wildfires in California, doing construction. They are paid 10 cents an hour, maybe $1 a day. That is slavery. They did not end slavery. They just renamed it. And who profits? Private prison companies. Corporations that use prison labor. States that save money by paying prisoners nothing. The system is designed to funnel black people into prison, extract their labor, destroy their families, and then release them with a record that makes it nearly impossible to get a job alone housing. It is a trap, and it is intentional. History does not repeat, it rhymes. So here we are, in 2025. Your ancestors built pyramids in Egypt. Your ancestors built Black Wall Street in Tulsa. And both times the wealth was destroyed. Both times the history was erased. Both times you were told you came from nothing. But now you know the truth. You did not come from nothing. You come from everything. You come from pharaohs who ruled empires. You come from millionaires who built from the ashes of slavery. You come from survivors of the longest genocide in human history. And you are still here. So what do you do with this knowledge? Do you get angry and give up? Do you despair? No. You do what your ancestors did. You build. You fight. You demand what is yours. You are not a victim. You are a warrior. You are not poor because you failed. You are poor because you were robbed. And you have a right to demand it back. Reparations are not charity. They are justice. Telling your children their true history is not optional. It is essential. Fighting against Project 2025, against gentrification, against mass incarceration, is not political. It is survival. You are not descended from slaves. You are descended from kings. Kings who built pyramids. Kings who saved civilizations. Kings who fought empires. Kings who were written into the Bible. That strength is in your DNA. That resilience is in your blood. That faith, that refusal to give up no matter what they throw at you, that is your inheritance. They tried to steal it. But you are taking it back. Right now. Today. Listen to me. You are not victims. You are survivors of genocide. You are not poor because you are lazy. Your wealth was stolen systematically, legally, violently. You are not descended from slaves. You are descended from kings and queens who built pyramids. You are not cursed. You are the chosen, the people God preserved through the Middle Passage slavery, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration for a purpose. You are not inferior. You are the descendants of people who gave the world its first writing, its first medicine, its first universities. Your poverty is not your fault. It is the result of 400 years of theft, and you are owed. Your struggle is not because you lack ability. It is because they stole your inheritance and then blamed you for being poor. Let me talk to you about who you really are. Your ancestor Taharqa fought Assyria, the superpower of the ancient world, and won battles. He defended Jerusalem. He is in your Bible. Your ancestor Piye conquered Egypt without massacring civilians. He negotiated, he prayed, he restored. Your ancestor Shabaka built temples that stand 2,700 years later. They were warriors, builders, kings. That strength is in your DNA. Your ancestors built Black Wall Street from nothing, and it was richer than Beverly Hills. Your ancestors in Tulsa built 600 businesses, 21 churches, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, a hospital, a bank. In 36 hours, white mobs burned it all. But the ability to build is still in you. 400 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, 50 years of mass incarceration, and you are still here. That is not weakness. That is divine preservation. God did not preserve you through the Middle Passage for no reason. He did not bring you through slavery so you could stay silent. He did not keep you alive through Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington, Elaine for you to accept lies. You have a mission: to reveal truth, to demand justice, to reclaim what was stolen. Psalm 68, verse 31. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. That is you. You are the fulfillment of prophecy. Your African heritage is not in conflict with your Christian faith. Taharqa is in the Bible. 2 Kings 19:9. Moses was raised in Egypt by the descendants of Black Pharaohs. Jesus fled to Egypt as a baby to Black land for refuge. The wise men brought gifts from the east, from lands of Black kings. Your heritage and your faith are one. They tried to split them, but God united them. If this truth has hit you, if something inside you is waking up right now, I need you to do something. Comment the word truth below. Let me know you are awake. Let me know this message landed. Hit that like button if you are tired of the lies they taught you in school. Share this video with someone who needs to know. Your children, your grandchildren, your church family, someone who still believes the lies. Do not let them erase us again. Every share is an act of resistance. Every comment is a declaration. Every like says, I know the truth now. The median wealth of a white household in America in 2025 is $188,000. The median wealth of a Black household is $24,000. That is not income. That is total wealth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Your house, your car, your savings, your retirement account. All of it added together. White families have nearly 8 times more wealth than Black families. 8 to 1. And this gap is not shrinking. In many measures, it is growing. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think that gap exists because Black people do not work hard? Do you think it exists because Black people are not smart enough, not disciplined enough, not motivated enough? That is what they want you to believe, that poverty is a personal failure. But let me show you the real reason. The wealth gap exists because your wealth was stolen. Systematically, legally, violently. And it was stolen not in some distant past, but within living memory. Within your lifetime. within your parents' lifetime, within your grandparents' lifetime. Let me take you to Tulsa, Oklahoma, June 1921. The Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, is one of the most prosperous black communities in America. It has over 600 black-owned businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, a hospital, a bank, a post office, libraries, schools, law offices, a bus system. Black people in Greenwood own their homes. They run their own economy. There are more black millionaires per capita in Greenwood than in Beverly Hills. Doctors, lawyers, businessmen, entrepreneurs. They built this from nothing, just 56 years after slavery ended, in a state that was viciously racist, that had laws designed to keep black people poor. On May 31, 1921, a young black man named Dick Rowland is accused of assaulting a white woman in an elevator. The accusation is almost certainly false. She probably tripped. He tried to catch her. She screamed. But in 1921, Oklahoma, a black man touching a white woman is a death sentence. A white mob gathers at the courthouse demanding Rowland be handed over to be lynched. Black men, many of them veterans of World War I, who just fought for America and Europe, arm themselves and go to the courthouse to protect Rowland. Shots are fired. No one knows who shoots first. The black men retreat to Greenwood. What happens next is not a riot. It is a massacre. It is domestic terrorism. White mobs, thousands of them, some deputized by the police, some given weapons by the National Guard, invade Greenwood on June 1st. They loot every business. They burn every building. They shoot black people in the streets. Eyewitnesses report planes flying overhead dropping firebombs and firing rifles at fleeing residents. Planes. This is the first aerial bombing of an American city. Over 35 blocks are destroyed. Over 1,200 homes are burned. The official death toll is 36, but historians now believe it was closer to 300. Bodies were thrown into mass graves, into the river burned in buildings. And here is the key detail that connects to everything we have been talking about. After the massacre, the city government changed the fire codes. They required that all new buildings in Greenwood be built with expensive, fire-resistant materials. Materials that black residents who had just lost everything could not afford. Insurance companies refused to pay claims. They said the destruction was a riot, and riot damage was not covered. Banks would not give loans. The city rezoned the area for industrial use, making it illegal to rebuild homes and businesses. Within a year, wealthy white developers bought up the land for pennies. Do you see what happened? Black people in Tulsa built wealth. They built businesses, they bought property, they created generational assets. And white mobs, with the support of the government, destroyed it all. Then the government made it illegal to rebuild. Then developers stole the land. The wealth was transferred from black hands to white hands. And it was legal. This is not ancient history. There are people alive today whose grandparents lived through this. If those businesses had not been burned, if that land had not been stolen, those families would be wealthy today. That property in Greenwood is now worth millions. But the descendants of the families who built it own none of it. And Tulsa was not unique. Rosewood, Florida, January 1923. A white woman claims a black man assaulted her. A white mob attacks the black community of Rosewood. They burn every building. They murder black residents. Survivors flee into the swamps. The entire town is destroyed. It is never rebuilt. The land is taken. Wilmington, North Carolina, November 1898. White supremacists overthrow the elected biracial government. They burn black businesses and newspapers. They murder black residents. They drive thousands of black people out of the city. Property is seized. Elaine, Arkansas, October 1919. Black sharecroppers try to organize a union to demand fair payment. White mobs attack. Over 200 black people are killed. Farms are taken. This happened in Atlanta in 1906, in East St. Louis in 1917, in Chicago in 1919, in Oakey, Florida in 1920, where the entire black community was destroyed because black people tried to vote. Over and over and over the pattern repeats. Black people build wealth. White mobs, often with police and government support, destroy it. The land and property are taken. And it is legal. Or if it is not legal, no one is punished. The wealth is transferred. And then decades later, people ask why black families do not have generational wealth. This is why. It was stolen, but it is not just massacres. The theft continued through law. Redlining. From the 1930s to 1968, the federal government, through the Homeowners Loan Corporation and the Federal Housing Administration, created maps of every city in America. They color-coded neighborhoods. Green meant good investment safe for loans. Red meant bad investment too risky. And guess which neighborhoods were marked red? Black neighborhoods. Even black neighborhoods that were stable and middle class were marked red, simply because black people lived there. Banks used these maps to deny mortgages to black families. If you were black and tried to buy a house, even if you had good credit, even if you had a down payment, the bank would say no. Or they would charge you higher interest rates. Meanwhile, white families got low-interest government-backed mortgages. They bought homes in the suburbs. Those homes appreciated in value. That became wealth they passed to their children. But black families were locked out. They had to rent. Rent does not build wealth. Homeownership does. By the time redlining was made illegal in 1968, the damage was done. An entire generation of black families was denied the chance to build wealth through homeownership. And even after 1968, discrimination continued. It just became more subtle, steering where real estate agents showed black buyers only certain neighborhoods. Predatory lending, where black borrowers were given subprime mortgages even when they qualified for prime rates. The 2008 financial crisis hit black families harder than any other group because they had been targeted for those predatory loans. Wells Fargo Bank of America, they paid billions in settlements for discriminating against black borrowers. But the money did not go to the families who lost their homes. The wealth was gone. Today, the black homeownership rate is 45%. The white homeownership rate is 74%. In Tulsa, specifically, the homeownership gap is even worse. In 1920, before the massacre, black homeownership in Tulsa was about the same as white homeownership. Today, it is half. That is not because black people stopped wanting to own homes. It is because of what was done to them. Let me make this personal. If your great-grandparents had owned a home in Greenwood in 1921, and that home had not been burned, and your family had been able to keep it and pass it down, do you know what it would be worth today? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe more. That is wealth your family should have. That is wealth that was stolen. Not by some abstract force, not by bad luck, by deliberate policy and mob violence. And no one has ever paid it back. Which brings us to reparations. That word makes some people uncomfortable. They say slavery was a long time ago. They say no one alive today owned slaves. They say we should move on. But reparations are not just about slavery. They are about the ongoing theft. Tulsa was 1921. That is 104 years ago. Your grandparents, or great-grandparents, could have lived through that. Redlining ended in 1968. That is 57 years ago. Your parents lived through that. Predatory lending in the 2000s. You lived through that. The theft is not ancient history. It is happening now, and there is a biblical precedent for reparations. Exodus chapter 12, verses 35 and 36. The Israelites are leaving Egypt after 400 years of slavery. God tells them to ask the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and clothing. And the Bible says, the Lord made the Egyptians favorably disposed toward the people, and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. This is reparations. God commanded the Israelites to take wealth from Egypt as compensation for centuries of unpaid labor, and God made it happen. If God demanded reparations for His people in Egypt, why should America refuse reparations for 250 years of slavery, plus another 150 years of Jim Crow massacres, redlining mass incarceration, and ongoing discrimination? The moral case is clear. The historical case is documented. The economic calculation has been done. Economists estimate that the value of unpaid slave labor adjusted for inflation and interest is over $10 trillion. Add in the stolen property from massacres, the denial of homeownership through redlining the wage gap, the discrimination, and you are looking at over $100 trillion in stolen wealth. Some people say we cannot afford it, but we can afford endless wars. We can afford tax cuts for billionaires. We can afford bank bailouts. The question is not, can we afford it? The question is, do we have the courage to do what is right? Reparations are not a handout. They are a debt. They are what is owed. But let me connect this to something happening right now. Project 2025. You have heard about it. It is a 900-page policy blueprint created by conservative think tanks for the next Republican administration. And if you are a Black American, you need to understand what it means for you. Because Project 2025 is not just about cutting government programs. It is about systematically dismantling every protection and support that Black communities have fought for over the last 70 years. Project 2025 calls for eliminating the Department of Education. Why does that matter? Because the Department of Education enforces civil rights laws in schools. It ensures that schools do not discriminate based on race. It funds programs like Head Start, which serves low-income children, 28% of whom are Black. Without the Department of Education, states can go back to funding white schools and starving Black schools. We have seen this before. It was called Jim Crow. Project 2025 calls for cutting Pell Grants, the federal aid that helps low-income students afford college. Over 60% of Black college students receive Pell Grants. Cutting that aid means cutting off the path to higher education for hundreds of thousands of Black students. It means widening the wealth gap, because education is one of the few ways to break the cycle of poverty. Project 2025 calls for eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in government and federal contractors. That means no more efforts to hire Black employees, to promote Black workers, to ensure that government reflects the diversity of the country. It means going back to all-white workplaces, all-white leadership, all-white decision-making. Project 2025 calls for weakening voting rights protections. It supports strict voter ID laws, purging voter rolls, reducing early voting. All policies that disproportionately affect Black voters. We know this because we have seen it. Every time voting becomes harder, Black turnout drops. That is the point. They do not want you to vote, because when you vote, you have power. Project 2025 calls for increased incarceration, harsher sentencing, more prisons. That means more Black men and women locked up. It means more families torn apart. It means more people with criminal records who cannot get jobs, who cannot vote, who are locked out of society. Mass incarceration is the new Jim Crow. Project 2025 wants to expand it. Do you see the pattern? Project 2025 is not random. It is a systematic effort to roll back civil rights, to widen the wealth gap, to reduce Black political power, to make it harder for Black families to build wealth and pass it to the next generation. It is the same strategy they have been using for 400 years. Steal wealth, deny opportunity, lock people out, and then blame them for being poor. And they are doing it right now in 2025 while you are watching. Gentrification is modern land theft. You know what I am talking about. Black neighborhoods that were redlined, that were starved of investment for decades, suddenly become hip. White developers move in, coffee shops open, rents skyrocket, property taxes go up. Longtime residents, the Black families who stayed when no one else wanted to live there, can no longer afford to stay. They are pushed out. And the land, the property that they should own, that they would own if they had been given mortgages 50 years ago, is taken by investors. It is Tulsa all over again. The method is different. No one is burning buildings. But the result is the same. Black people lose the land. Mass incarceration is modern slavery. The 13th Amendment, the one that supposedly abolished slavery, has an exception. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States. Except as punishment for crime, slavery is legal in prisons. And who goes to prison, 1 in 3 Black men, will be incarcerated in their lifetime. They are put to work, forced labor, making products, fighting wildfires in California, doing construction. They are paid 10 cents an hour, maybe $1 a day. That is slavery. They did not end slavery. They just renamed it. And who profits? Private prison companies. Corporations that use prison labor. States that save money by paying prisoners nothing. The system is designed to funnel Black people into prison, extract their labor, destroy their families, and then release them with a record that makes it nearly impossible to get a job alone housing. It is a trap, and it is intentional. History does not repeat. It rhymes. So here we are, in 2025. Your ancestors built pyramids in Egypt. Your ancestors built Black Wall Street in Tulsa. And both times the wealth was destroyed. Both times the history was erased. Both times you were told you came from nothing. But now you know the truth. You did not come from nothing. You come from everything. You come from pharaohs who ruled empires. You come from millionaires who built from the ashes of slavery. You come from survivors of the longest genocide in human history. And you are still here. So what do you do with this knowledge? Do you get angry and give up? Do you despair? No. You do what your ancestors did. You build. You fight. You demand what is yours. You are not a victim. You are a warrior. You are not poor because you failed. You are poor because you were robbed, and you have a right to demand it back. Reparations are not charity. They are justice. Telling your children their true history is not optional. It is essential. Fighting against Project 2025, against gentrification, against mass incarceration is not political. It is survival. You are not descended from slaves. You are descended from kings. Kings who built pyramids. Kings who saved civilizations. Kings who fought empires. Kings who were written into the Bible. That strength is in your DNA. That resilience is in your blood. That faith, that refusal to give up no matter what they throw at you, that is your inheritance. They tried to steal it, but you are taking it back. Right now. Today. Listen to me. You are not victims. You are survivors of genocide. You are not poor because you are lazy. Your wealth was stolen systematically, legally, violently. You are not descended from slaves. You are descended from kings and queens who built pyramids. You are not cursed. You are the chosen. The people God preserved through the Middle Passage slavery. Jim Crow, and mass incarceration for a purpose. You are not inferior. You are the descendants of people who gave the world its first writing, its first medicine, its first universities. Your poverty is not your fault. It is the result of 400 years of theft, and you are owed. Your struggle is not because you lack ability. It is because they stole your inheritance and then blamed you for being poor. Let me talk to you about who you really are. Your ancestor Taharqa fought Assyria, the superpower of the ancient world, and won battles. He defended Jerusalem. He is in your Bible. Your ancestor Piye conquered Egypt without massacring civilians. He negotiated, he prayed, he restored. Your ancestor Shabaka built temples that stand 2,700 years later. They were warriors, builders, kings. That strength is in your DNA. Your ancestors built Black Wall Street from nothing, and it was richer than Beverly Hills. Your ancestors in Tulsa built 600 businesses, 21 churches, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, a hospital, a bank. In 36 hours, white mobs burned it all. But the ability to build is still in you. 400 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, 50 years of mass incarceration. And you are still here. That is not weakness. That is divine preservation. God did not preserve you through the Middle Passage for no reason. He did not bring you through slavery so you could stay silent. He did not keep you alive through Tulsa, Rosewood, Wilmington, a lane for you to accept lies. You have a mission to reveal truth, to demand justice, to reclaim what was stolen. Psalm 68, verse 31. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. That is you. You are the fulfillment of prophecy. Your African heritage is not in conflict with your Christian faith. Taharqa is in the Bible. 2 Kings 19:9. Moses was raised in Egypt by the descendants of Black Pharaohs. Jesus fled to Egypt as a baby, to Black land for refuge. The wise men brought gifts from the east, from lands of Black kings. Your heritage and your faith are one. They tried to split them, but God united them. If this truth has hit you, if something inside you is waking up right now, I need you to do something. Comment the word truth below. Let me know you are awake. Let me know this message landed. Hit that like button if you are tired of the lies they taught you in school. Share this video with someone who needs to know. Your children, your grandchildren, your church family, someone who still believes the lies. Do not let them erase us again. Every share is an act of resistance. Every comment is a declaration. Every like says, I know the truth now, because this is not just information. This is a movement. This is a restoration of identity. This is the healing of generational trauma. This is you stepping into who you were always meant to be. Not a victim, not a beggar, not someone asking for permission, but a king, a queen, a child of the people who built civilization. Act like it, and here is what I need you to do next. Subscribe to this channel because this is just the beginning. There are hundreds more stories they buried. Stories of Black excellence, Black resistance, Black achievement that they erased from every textbook. I am bringing them all to light. Tell your children the story you just heard. Read them 2 Kings 19:9 about Taharqa. Show them pictures of the Kushite pyramids in Sudan. Show them the DNA studies. Give them the truth before the school system feeds them lies. Do not let them erase us again. This is our history. We must preserve it. And if you believe reparations are owed, if you believe that the $100 trillion stolen from our ancestors should be paid back, comment, we are owed below. Let them see we are not begging. We are demanding. This is not revenge. This is truth and justice. You are part of this story. You are part of this movement. You have a choice right now. Accept truth or continue in deception. Choose silence or action. Choose to pass this legacy to the next generation or let it die with you. I am telling you, you were put on this earth for such a time as this. In 2025, when they are trying to erase history with Project 2025, when they are trying to roll back civil rights, when they are trying to silence truth, you are the one who will speak. You are the one who will resist. You are the one who will say, no more. Not on my watch. Not to my children. Not to my people. We remember. We know who we are. And we are taking back what is ours. Let me pray with you. Father God, we thank you for preserving this truth through the centuries. We thank you for the warriors who came before us. Taharqa, Shabaka, Piye, the Black Pharaohs who restored your temples and defended your people. We thank you for Volney, who dared to speak truth in 1787 when the world wanted silence. We thank you for modern scientists who uncovered DNA evidence that confirms what our ancestors always knew. We are the children of Africa. We are the builders of civilization. We are yours. We pray for justice for those whose names were erased from history, for the millions whose pyramids were destroyed, whose monuments were defaced, whose stories were buried. We pray for restoration of the wealth that was stolen from us. In Tulsa, in Rosewood, in Wilmington, in Elaine, in 1,000 forgotten massacres. We pray for awakening of your people, that we would know who we truly are. Bless those who seek truth in a world of lies. Strengthen those who resist erasure in a society built on forgetting. Vindicate the memory of our ancestors, the pharaohs, the builders, the warriors, the survivors. And give us courage to demand what is ours, our history, our heritage, our wealth, our dignity. Help us teach our children that they are descended from kings, not slaves. That their skin is the color of the first civilization, not a curse. That they are blessed, chosen, preserved for such a time as this. In Jesus' name, the Jesus who was sheltered in Black Egypt as a baby, Amen. Walk in truth. Demand justice. You are free. This is the hidden history. Until next time, build wealth, demand reparations. Remember your pharaohs. You are royalty. Act like it.